The big one is at high noon Eastern time on ESPN. It is Iowa State. It is Kansas State. It is Farmageddon. Again, they played at Aviva Stadium in Dublin. Can you give me your Irish Dublin one more time, please?
Dublin?
Dublin?
Yeah. I have no idea if that's accurate. Continue.
We were invited to this game.
We were invited. I was tempted because Ireland and Northern Ireland are beautiful countries, a beautiful island. I loved visiting a couple years ago. Had a great time eating in Dublin. Great walkable European city. It was Bambino. Loved Bambino pizza. Come on.
You talk about Bambino pizza now.
I've got a
for
sticker
like a year.
on my water bottle right here. Bambino. Look at that little baby eating pizza. I also had a good meal at Grano. Really good homemade pasta. Continue.
Wonderful. Well, we're not able to make it. We appreciate the invite. The good news, though, is that Frosted Wild Berry and Frosted Hot Fudge Sundae will be there rooting on Iowa State.
Good.
They won the Pop-Tarts Bowl, so there's gotta keep the rep, you know?
That's true.
Kansas State's favored by 3 points in this matchup. You know I'm high on both these schools.
Yeah.
I've got them playing an eventual rematch in the Big 12 title game. And I've also telegraphed where I stand on this game in that I'm locking up K-State -3.
Lock of the week.
So with that being said, I am going to turn it over to you.
Yeah.
Because one thing that I found interesting in looking at these schools, especially now that they are matched up against each other in the first game of the college football season, to a degree, both of these schools fit your very specific Dan Rubenstein rubric
Of?
having a good quarterback,
Yeah.
having a good defense.
Yeah. Likely.
If that's your starting point, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So what say you about that setup, that both schools have something that I know you always like?
Mm-hmm.
Being so it's this early in the season in a foreign country, different stadium. Where you at?
I mean, it's a fascinating matchup. A lot of it is just potential or promising, like a promising defense and a promising quarterback. The best of Avery Johnson is quite promising. When Kansas State loses, it seems that it's Avery Johnson in the passing game or weird fumbles that aid in that loss. And so it's Kansas State with a new look offensive line with transfers, but really fun looking skill players. It's Iowa State with a new look defensive line, but much healthier at linebacker. So it's like Kansas State wants to get better on offense. Iowa State wants to get better at defense. Iowa State's looking to find new receivers. Kansas State's looking to stop big pass plays. There's a lot of like, hey, we struggled doing this thing last year and it led to not so fun moments. We hope starting the year with a rivalry game will immediately have our teams and transfers that are coming in to solve these issues focused on fixing those things. And so it's hard to really feel anything strongly. We haven't seen these versions of teams. There's new personnel everywhere for both of these teams. I can say this. If you are a believer to whatever extent in trends, Iowa State in September is not super good. Iowa State, for whatever reason, under Matt Campbell, has started very slowly. Needed triple overtime to beat Northern Iowa, or loses to Northern Iowa, or scores 7.5 points a year against Iowa. Sometimes it's good enough to beat the Iowa offense. That's fine. But there is something about losing to Ohio and Matt Campbell having a little bit of a moment, we'll call it, generously. Had a moment. We've all been there. Lest I can consider Matt Campbell a lesser person. I've had that moment 3 times this morning, Ty. I have a 6-year-old and 4-year-old. So I kind of like going against Iowa State. I kind of like that Kansas State has been a little bit more solid in the early going these past few years under Chris Kleiman. I kind of love the under if that's the kind of person you are. Iowa State does not hit overs as a dog. Kansas State does not hit overs as a favorite. So this game is being played 44,000 miles away. Don't fact check me. I kind of like a low-scoring Kansas State cover of 23-17 in that range. How does that strike you?
I got it in the same range.
Okay.
I think I'd be inclined to go under. I never bet unders because that's just no fun.
It definitely is no fun.
It's no fun to do that. If you're that kind of person, you're kind of a monster.
Right. Last
Maybe
year's
a nice
Georgia
monster.
Tech, Florida State was 24-21.
Yeah.
So that's under 50. That's right around where that number is this year.
Maybe a nice monster, just not
I
not
agree.
my type of better. You can still listen to the show. You can still come to the live shows whenever we do them, but just not my cup of tea.
Okay.
Here's the thing for me. The passing game. I talked about this in all the preview stuff that we did on the Big 12, radio shows that I did talking about the Big 12 teams.
Jeez, brag much? Continue.
My question on both sides is the passing game. On the K-State side, I think it's one more of consistency with Avery Johnson. On the Iowa State side, it's because they lost two 1,100-yard receivers. I like Rocco Becht, the best of all Roccos, the boar, if you will.
Of course.
But that's a lot to lose out wide. And I think it hurts Iowa State more because if they don't have the pop in the passing game this year, and if their running game does not get more explosive than it was a year ago, this turns into a pickleball offense in a hurry.
Yeah.
In a hurry. Meanwhile, if you're K-State, Dan, and you can't get it going, it basically turns into an improv show. Like Matt Wells is just going to hand it off to his athletes. He's going to let Avery Johnson dance around in the backfield and figure something out.
Right.
Let your playmakers figure it out. I like the Clones a lot, but they're going to need some dudes to step up and become those type of dynamic playmakers to give this offense a little bit more pop out wide. And that's sort of the big hang up with Iowa State this year, at least on offense. There's a lot of veteran presence there. I love the quarterback. I still like the backfield. I'd like to see more chunk plays. But what is that passing game going to look like? That to me is one of two big concerns in this game for Iowa State. And the second thing, I guess, is like a build on that is how does K-State use Avery Johnson to test that Iowa State secondary? Like you generally trust that John Haycock's going to figure out defense. He's been doing it for a long time. He's very good at it.
It was a struggle last year, but that was a lot of injury-related issues.
A lot of injury stuff, sure. Generally, you can trust the guy.
Yep.
Secondary this year, though, is the big question. And we know from watching this game our entire lives what a good dual-threat quarterback can do to a defense, especially a secondary.
Yep.
How it can pull defenses apart, get them out of shape, cause communication issues, things like that. Avery Johnson is that kind of guy. And so I'm curious to see how they utilize his legs, how they do it early, and if they're able to take advantage of that to open up some passing lanes down the field against a secondary that, at least to start, is relatively unproven.
Yes. It was actually a really good secondary last year. That was not the weakness of this defense. This team was 10th in the nation. Again, this team or this program, it's a different team this year, both sides of the ball. But in terms of what John Haycock does, putting his players in a position to succeed, they were top 10 nationally in interception percentage. So
yeah,
it's worthwhile.
Yeah, again, he will figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm confident in that. But early against a good dual threat guy like Avery Johnson, I think it's going to hinge on a couple big plays down the field that are set up mainly because of the threat of him running.
Yeah.
So for me, I also have this under a little bit less under, I guess, than you do. I've got it at 27-20 K-State in a really good game. Like, this is an awesome game to bring to the Irish people. Like, I love the fact that they're playing Farmageddon there. For as much as I'm in favor of playing all games on campus all the time, if you're going to take a game abroad, this one's
really go
fun
for
one.
it, right?
Yeah, this one's a pretty fun one.
The Aer Lingus College Football Classic? We love a good Lingus tie.
Not a
Continue.
sponsor.
No, but could be.
Could be.